was debate training.
Very good. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Good evening from the Tibet Center in South Orange, New Jersey. We will begin by reciting a prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the
blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living here together with their near ones, who are engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished.
The Heart Sutra. Thus have
I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the arms called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How shall those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the Bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, "Good, good, O son of noble family, Profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One.
Now we generate bodhicitta. With the wish to
Free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world.
We shall now recite Om Mani Padme Hum and try to remember what compassion is. Om Mani Padme Hum is the mantra of compassion, and compassion is the wish to remove the suffering of all others. And you can also think of the meaning of Om, A, U, Ma, the three, the body, speech, and mind in its unpure form within us, and A, U, Ma, the body, speech, and mind of a fully enlightened Buddha, which we aspire to cultivate through our practice. Mani, which are the method aspects of our practice. Padme, which is the lotus representing the wisdom aspect of our practice, and these two uniting are represented by Hum. So Om, Mani, Padme, Hum, each are to be thought about as you recite. So we'll start Om, Mani, Padme, Hum, 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 Om, M So, it's nice to see the moment friends tonight. Yes,
It's nice to see you for
welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome. Welcome. We haven't seen you in a long time.
friends and everything.
So,
How you doing? Yeah. No,
better.
finally.
Have a nice little gap. I'm becoming an old person. The teeth are old.
Oh, I had a tooth problem too.
At least you have a brain. Mine's not working too well.
I don't know that mine is. So we've been discussing Beyond Religion, Ethics for a Whole World by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And we reached the futility of war, and we were talking about on page 88 of this book, in the remaining years of the 21st century, we must ensure that we do not repeat the mistakes of the past. The only way to reduce the level of violence in our world is for more and more people across the globe to consciously adopt a stance of disarmament. Disarmament is compassion in practice. What is required, therefore, is both inner disarmament at the level of our individual hatred, prejudice, and intolerance, and outer disarmament at the level of nations and states. And so what we've been discussing is how we contribute towards outer disarmament by means of our cultivating inner disarmament. What do you have to say about how our inner disarmament might contribute to outer disarmament? Applying the logic that you've been studying in Dharamsala.
I'm on the spot. I think just in everyday simple interactions, being kind as much as you can have more of an effect than one might expect in terms of spreading, perhaps.
So is the cultivation of being kind, is that what we mean by disarmament?
I think probably there should be a sense of wisdom connected with that.
Meaning?
Meaning endeavoring to have a sense of how things exist, and in so doing having less attachment and or aversion to them by understanding their lack
What
of
things? You're talking about things.
things.
So
People,
by seeing how things exist,
then we'll be less likely to have attachment and aversion because we are connected to their essencelessness.
so as I look at the way in which the things that I'm attached to exist, when I look at the quality of a good camera,
Yes,
my attachment seems to grow.
yes.
What to do?
What to do?
Disarmament has to be responding to war with reason, because the other person's already not on your side. So you give reasonable answers for your position, rather than indicating it's just you think it's better and that's that. In terms of deciding things in a committee, or in terms of just being civil discourse, if you can. We're not talking to Buddhists, I assume that. We're talking to people average people in the world. The Buddhists who drive you crazy because they'll come, what do you mean by that? We avoid those people.
Well, you can try to view everything with the same beauty that you find in the camera.
That's not, I like that. That's a
And have attachment for
Look
everything.
at the shutter on her. Wow.
okay, so instilling a quality of beauty in all phenomena.
And attachment is there too. We're assuming then that the more you contemplate,
You wanna come here?
the
or
more
you're
you
happy
contemplate
there?
that the,
You pray
another,
for us.
another object, that its attractiveness will increase.
Wait, say it again.
Well, if you examine other things, like a car, with the same intent and attraction that you find in a camera, then you just have to push forward so that they become equally attractive, and then you move on to other things.
So this is bringing peace to the world?
It won't hurt.
No.
So I'm not sure that I agree that the cultivation of attachment in this working towards recognizing some inherent quality in these phenomena is going to contribute to world peace. It might, if we all did that, I think that we would all be maybe fighting.
That's what they're already doing. Isn't attachment an affliction? So it's
Attachment is
you
an
can't get
affliction.
somewhere with that.
I mean, I know that we are saying this in a certain jest, but I think that pursuing what we do when we debate, pursuing lines of reasoning and seeing where they actually are flawed is how we then clear. So, as Tony pointed out, the fact that attachment has within it or causes us to suffer. I mean, what is an affliction? Affliction means something that causes me to suffer. And if attachment is something that causes me to suffer, then attachment is something to be diminished. And, you know, I'm saying this premised on a recognition that we are discussing these matters in jest. But I think that it's helpful to recognize that indulging attachment brings us unhappiness. And I must say that though cameras may tickle my desires, I find that I have to say to myself, now, the cameras that I'm no longer satisfied with today were the most extraordinary and
Right.
seemingly
Right.
perfect objects of attachment before, and that there will always be a new object of attachment unless I cultivate not attachment but contentment. And really working at appreciating contentment with what we have brings happiness. It really works. I used an old camera today.
Nikon?
No.
I remember when you wrote 108 verses in praise of Nikon.
Yes.
It was the thing that when I first.
It was.
It was a heavy camera, you pointed out. A little heavy.
But when you're relating to other people in normal everyday life, it's not only contentment but also the realization that you are actually attached to your own viewpoints. So when you talk to other people, when you relate to other people, if you realize that you are actually attached to your own viewpoint, then you're giving the other person kind of space to have their own viewpoint, and you're not so attached to your own viewpoint, then you can let other people's viewpoint come through. So that way, I think you can lessen kind of maybe some friction that's possible. Whenever there's two people talking, there's misunderstanding is possible, friction is possible. So if you're less attached to your viewpoint and realize that I'm attached to my viewpoint, then that kind of like tones down the heat of the conversation.
Can we define attachment?
Mark and his piano. It's an example.
Like, for example, the attachment to that question that you just asked. Are you attached to that question you just asked?
Not particularly.
Then why do you ask it? Why do you ask it?
So if I ask a question, I necessarily have to be attached to it?
Are you or aren't you, or are you aware? You must have some kind of attachment to that question, otherwise you wouldn't be asking it.
So
Because there are other
there's desire
questions, there are
and
other
grasping.
questions that you didn't ask.
I think if we're going to say that attachment is a problem, we should try to understand exactly what we mean by attachment.
Why is it a problem, in other words?
Yeah.
Because it's, if
Well, because it's
attachment is
leading
around-
to afflictive
If attachment
emotions.
is around, it's necessary a misevaluation of the object.
Ah.
You're throwing something that's not there and you're going crazy.
Well, it causes, it is, the negative aspect of attachment is that it causes you to suffer. Attachment is the emotion of having a desire for and grasping at
That's
those qualities, and that attitude that I have towards an object, whatever the object is. It can be an idea, it can be a thing, it can be a person. That the problem is not your piano, my camera, the person we might be attached to. The problem is that it causes me suffering. That's the problem.
And why does it cause you suffering?
The piano is a tool, as is the camera. I can't quite say that the person is a tool, but these physical objects are. But we can see in our attitude towards others whom we might be attached to, that mere companionship, mutual support, and all that is fine. But when there is the attachment, it's the attachment. It's not the relationship. It's that desire.
Grasping.
And yeah, those are the things that cause me.
It seems like there's an implied opposite. If you use the word attachment, the opposite would be difficulty letting go. And then you get into the word difficulty, and that it's going to make you anxious, unhappy, maybe into mourning, whatever, from being attached to it, whatever you're attached to, and then you're not going to be able, there's impermanence, so you wouldn't be able to keep that.
There's, what did you say, permanence? Or-
Impermanence.
The thing is, yes,
So
impermanent, and you're
anything
thinking
you're
it
attached to
and that's another problem.
is impermanent, so the difficulty and the suffering just come from
As
that.
we know.
Am I right in assuming that I think that it's kind of a given in a way, but that the difference between attachment and whatever the better alternative might be, whether it's adoration or just kind of recognizing that something is there that's beautiful, is that it is defining one's self in a certain way?
It's not defining oneself. Attachment has nothing to really to do with the object. Attachment is merely my attitude towards it.
But it's with the intention somehow of defining a self that's not actually real. Seems that that's kind of inherent in it.
I don't know that it defines, but it intensifies, it charges, it indulges your sense of self.
Self, and the sense of self that makes it so that the ego is somehow flared up in some way.
The ego wishes to be satisfied with that object that
thing.
is being grasped
Right.
for.
And so if it's like, if the conversation is around disarmament, I feel like that actual action of being attached to something in order to kind of define or grasp at oneself and one's ego, I guess the way that that's turned into disarmament is by it being able to objectify it in order to relate to other people, and that we suffer the same in that way, maybe?
I've lost you.
You went from the object to people.
Well, I was just saying that if I am attached to Buddy, and I think
Buddy?
that
Good
Buddy
choice.
Okay.
defines me in some way, or I'm attached to him, the way that I can take that attachment and turn it into compassion is knowing that I can see that I'm attached, I'm able to objectify that attachment, and be able to feel compassion for the person next to me because we suffer in the same way. And now there's some kind of disarmament involved.
Because he's attached to Buddy too.
Because humans suffer, and I'm saying that's the, when Om Mani Padme Hum is in my hands or in my malas and I'm saying it, I think that I realize that the way that I'm attached to things, others are as well, and that makes me feel, instead of malice for someone else or instead of anger towards someone else, I feel compassion. So I'm saying, in the spirit of the conversation about disarmament, I think that that's where attachment goes for me, from something that feels yucky to something that all of a sudden becomes a tool to feel connected to the person next to me.
We're all the same. Attachment, all go to the word.
Right.
That's what you mean, okay.
So, identifying something as an affliction, seeing that someone else is experiencing the same affliction, will engender in one compassion for that person.
Yeah.
Sure.
Empathy, compassion.
It seems like, like attachment can become, in some ways, a tool to actually become closer or more understanding of the people around you.
Which, compassion or attachment?
Well, compassion, but
Yes.
attachment,
Bless you.
attachment can, the recognition of the attachment, it can be the fuel for compassion, or compassion is the fuel for the recognition of attachment.
Well, recognition of the suffering, as they say, in order to develop compassion, you do have to recognize suffering,
Right,
your own suffering,
yeah,
and then see how others are experiencing the same suffering,
Right.
and recognize the degree to which we are dependent on others for all our happiness.
right,
Those are the elements that bring about a true wish to remove the suffering of others. It starts with a recognition of our own suffering. If we see someone suffering and we have no empathy, we don't empathize with them, we don't recognize that we are experiencing that as well, then
We move on, yeah, it doesn't,
yeah.
So here we're talking about disarmament, specifically within this chapter on the futility of war, and it's not attachment as an affliction, but anger as an affliction that we're talking about, and how we deal with anger. What is since you've come back from the land of wisdom?
Queen?
Well, if we have attachment to something, then when we don't get it, then it's gonna, the flip side can arise, which could be that aversion to not getting the object of attachment, perhaps. So maybe attachment and aversion are two sides of the same coin, perhaps.
So, and specifically anger,
And specifically anger. What's the question?
so we're talking about taking war, working towards disarmament. And what His Holiness has said is that there is, political disarmament, or let's say disarmament at the macro level between countries, and then there is the disarmament that we can work on, which is His Holiness is suggesting the contribution, the true sort of meat and potatoes contribution that we can make to bringing about peace. That we don't have Lavinia here today, but she is our
Kathy
representative
Glenn, that's right, frequently
of the United Nations.
presents papers.
The rest of us don't have the ability to really work at the political level on developing peace. But the contribution that we can make, which we've been discussing, might just be the only effective contribution that we can make, is to work towards developing peace within ourselves, disarming our own selves, or working at disarmament within ourselves. So that's aversion. I don't know, aversion is avoiding something, right? It's not
Usually they say
anger.
attachment and aversion when they say some of the prayers. I don't see that like they're exactly opposite, but my brain's not that good lately.
Attachment is wanting, aversion is something you're sort of
Not
avoiding
even,
something.
yeah.
It's like avoidance because you dislike it.
But here we're
Right.
talking about the sparks that bring about war on whatever level it is, are anger. And the disarmament is one of countering
Mm.
our anger. And the suggestion being that it is by working at applying the antidote to anger that we bring about, that we contribute to peace.
He's the only one mentioning that on the personal level, or maybe there's some other religious people. That's never mentioned in political campaigns. They use anger to get elected. It's strange. Sad.
So
It's,
sad.
it's actually, I mean, what you said before, the contentment makes a lot of sense, because if you're not content, you're basically grasping at something. And on the macro level, it's the countries that are grasping other people's lands and other people's resources, things like that.
Yeah.
But from our own self level, if you don't want so much, then you have more peace, you're a little bit more peaceful. You have enough, you have food, you have water, you have shelter, blah, blah, blah.
You have cameras.
That's good enough. You don't need to go and, you don't need to have a huge mansion.
Right.
You don't need to go and have your neighbor's land, whatever. So
But-
contentment works.
And contentment is something that we have to work at. It's not just a question of, I don't need the big house. I don't need the fancy car. It's really recognizing how my wish for the fancy car or the big house caused me to suffering. It's an affliction. And working at it at that level, not in a sort of engrossed way, but again, recognizing that the contentment that I cultivate within myself contributes to a societal contentment. It's the only real contribution that I can make towards the peace that you're talking about in society, in the world.
Well, it's a little difficult to be content when you are in the society of get. Yeah, and it's not just the Western society, the Eastern society. Society
Yes.
itself is like, oh, get as much as you want, get rich, yeah, like that. So it's a very active, conscious level that you have to be aware of, not only aware of, but be very active about it. Because I mean, do I really need? I mean, otherwise, basically, you're grasping all that societal things makes you want to grasp more. That's the nature of societies: grasp this, grasp that, have this, have that. So we don't really need that much. We don't have to grasp so much.
The economic
And
engine needs.
the more you grasp, when you grasp and you don't have it, then there's no peace. You don't have peace, personal peace. If you don't
No.
grasp, then you have peace because you already let it go.
So that quality of peace that you have when you don't grasp is not something that we can just say, oh yeah. We have to work at it.
Yes.
And we have to work at it on our meditation pillows. We have to work at it by really recognizing in analytical meditation the flaws, the negative aspects of grasping, of attachment, and come to a true, strong conclusion within our hearts of the correctness of that. And then see the positive qualities of contentment and come to the same conclusion. And it is only if we do that over and over every day that when we go about our lives, we will do so with contentment.
If you say you analyze to know it well, then you'll know as it's coming up in you. You'll become more familiar with how it starts, because you attach
Meaning
yourself.
attachment.
Attachment. You find it, I'm running to pastosis for the latest crap, but you know, some of it's good, you know, but, no, but it doesn't.
Don't forget to eat, Tony.
I know, Irene, and I brought
Don't
food
do it
tonight.
with attachment.
No,
but
no.
Don't forget to eat.
That's right, don't forget, and don't forget to excrete.
And a
when you
little
do.
one coffee.
Only one. What did I bring tonight? Margaret will be my witness.
Green
What
tea.
did you bring
Green
tonight?
tea.
Green tea.
Green
right.
tea.
Green tea, okay.
One espresso a
Well,
day.
you've got caffeine in that too.
So what?
Do be aware. No, green tea can be very strong, high in caffeine.
But you can control it.
You can't control
Okay.
the coffee.
You just don't, well, the pods, no, because it comes out a certain strength.
It's less acidic too, which is good. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just don't leave it in the thing 10 minutes, 2 minutes, boom, throw it out, that's it. And then you could regulate. There's a sort of,
Good job.
yes, that's for now. This is in public that I'm announcing. The other department took over.
Be careful, because
Cuidado. He's so
having
long.
spent a certain amount of time in Taiwan, for example,
Oh,
where the preoccupation with the quality of tea
Oh, no, I don't wanna be
yeah.
has its
a tea
own,
nerd, yeah, no.
and they're there.
Whoever-
They boil the water and then they have to wait for the water. Now, I want to preface this by saying
A
that
certain alignment.
the result of this process is extraordinary,
Really.
is
I don't wanna hear
wonderful.
about it. I don't need
However,
another list of attachments.
there'll be a clock to time. So
Oh, no.
when you pour the boiling, it shouldn't be boiling water that you pour over.
Slightly
the
under the
It
boil,
should
yeah.
just be
That's
one-
right.
You boil it the first time. You don't even keep that. That's just to rinse
Yes.
off the leaves.
Mhm.
Really?
And then you pour
Yes.
it a second time. The first time that you pour, you clean the lead
Oh,
and you
espresso.
warm all the little cups. The second time you do it, you wait for the, you wait,
Sean,
for
no,
the-
what is it, the tea ceremony?
there's a certain amount of time that the tea brews.
You gotta face west.
And they're there with a clock watching the second hand go around to just the amount.
Oh, fun!
And then pour the tea and you smell it and you taste it. And it's extraordinary.
That's
It's
the tea ceremony.
exquisite.
Supposed to comment on
Then-
the nice bowls and
then-
everything.
You finished it and they pour hot water again on the tea leaves. And that time the water has to remain there for a little bit longer. They're washing the clock.
Give us caffeine.
And it can, so you have like 3 to 4 goes at it, and each one is a slightly different.
With a small
taste.
cup. You're not
Tiny,
drinking 8
tiny,
ounce.
tiny little cup.
Yeah.
And you,
Like
some people give you a cup and they'll give you a long skinny thing, and that's for smelling the tea. The other one is for drinking the tea, so you
You
have.
gotta get out more.
So, and I say all this because, yes, tea can provide you with a certain vitality, a clarity that can be helpful, but you can really become attached to this process. And
The worst is
contentment.
the cold green tea. 'cause
It's
that's
a
the
ritual.
one
the
you
step towards weaning yourself from caffeine and coffee.
And then you
There's a
switch it.
whole world that you can step into in the realm of
Wipe
green
your
tea.
shoes off, yes. The one thing that does have a positive effect on you needing the hot water business. You started in with that about a few months ago.
His
Yeah,
Holiness
His Holiness
says
says
hot water
it's
is the
Tibetan.
first medicine.
Yeah, so that works. In the morning especially, you have that first.
It's kind of an interesting thought though to think about, like, ritual and attachment, of like becoming attached to your rituals in a way. Like, are there bad rituals, I guess?
Well, sure there are bad rituals, I'm sure.
Certainly there's bad
Charles
rituals, but
Manson.
In the little heads.
like, like having hot water, it was like if you're attached to your hot water, is there a bad attachment there? Are there just things that are just
So,
very good to be attached to?
this is why we have to be very careful. There's nothing wrong with drinking hot water.
Right, so it
It's
really
the
is
attitude.
the intention around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have my tea, and the intention isn't to grasp at my tea or become attached to it, then it's okay. It's just that if I'm somehow defining myself and trying to somehow inflate my ego with my tea, that it becomes a problem. Or attaching to it in some way, that it becomes a problem. Right,
If you suffer as a result of this process, or of not getting what you want, you have a
Right.
problem.
okay.
But it is beneficial. Well, you taste, right away you sense it getting up, clears the pipes or whatever it is, you know, you imagine yourself a system. Does work, that I give, and that even microwave, you don't have to sit there and wait for it, just give it, you know. a
But
minute.
coffee can be beneficial too.
Yeah, in moderate doses, what I do. The guy saw me using my hands, and I know, because he himself is a freak for
No, no.
espresso, but, you know.
The problem is not the coffee, the problem is our attachment.
Yes.
It's really important
And
for
it's
us
an
to,
attachment if you
Right,
overdo it.
understand
It's-
that
It's an
difference.
indication, a clear indication of attachment, when you don't really need it that way, when you like the smell and everything, and you convince yourself that you're a better person, because you drink espresso. It's true.
yes.
Is
I
that a
would be
person
very
with coffee?
embarrassed if I were an Italian and asked
I
for
know,
a
oh, they're
long
crazy,
coffee.
they drink the nectar part of.
So,
Runs in my
Attachment.
family, I'll tell you that, I blame them.
attachment is an affliction. An affliction is something that causes me to suffer. There's nothing wrong with coffee, there's nothing wrong with most things out there. The problem is our attitude towards them, and that's where all our
Yes.
suffering.
Yeah, like, for instance, cigarettes, you can't justify that much, and that is an attachment, not only an attachment, I think it's a clinical
It's
It's
a
an
clinical
addiction, not really-
addiction.
addiction. You used to smoke, I remember.
Yes. They actually
No, you
mix
won't
it,
find
they
my
actually
apples.
mix it, the manufacturers, they know how to mix it so that it becomes more and
Has
more addictive.
Addictive quality, I wouldn't
Yes.
doubt it.
They do.
That's
Well,
money
that's,
for them.
that's how they got them, because
Yeah.
they proved that they knew, and then they went ahead and did it
Yes,
anyway.
the lawsuit, yeah.
Uh-huh, and then they denied that they know.
So
But we're back into the war, let's end war right away.
what's more, I think that as we talk about tobacco and as we talk about coffee and as we talk about cameras and pianos, I think that what we should really leave with is an understanding that that actually there's nothing wrong with pianos or cameras or even tobacco or coffee. I think that the problem is with our attitude towards them. And if we really work at cultivating and developing our mindset, and we do it in a really constructive way, then I'm sure that one little coffee can be good. I think that maybe one cigarette might not be bad. I don't know, but
Yeah, remember that Pope smoked 2 a day? I think Paul, he claimed it was good for digestion. Who knows? How do we get rid of the attachment to aggression and anger? Then it would really only gotten the
okay. So
war issue. Because it's not a natural thing. When you get angry, you don't feel good, but somehow we go back to it. I don't know. Ooh, he's bringing the artillery. We just called in an ass.
Yeah.
Here it is.
what is the antidote to anger? It's patience.
Yeah.
And so let us just go through what Tsongkhapa says on patience.
I can't wait.
We're not gonna go far, but we're gonna, and let's discuss it. What patience is. Patience is disregarding harm done to you, accepting the suffering arising in your mind stream, and being certain
That's a
about the teachings and firmly maintaining belief in them. So that third one, I think we can put aside for this conversation this evening, but we can talk about accepting the suffering arising in your mind, well, disregarding harm done to you. And it's not that we can easily disregard harm done to us. We have to actually cultivate, we have to recognize that, for example, I hope that I can take for granted that all of us here believe in karma, in the laws of cause and effect. Though we all are going to have harm done to us, though we all, having existed within cyclic existence since beginningless time, have engaged in non-virtue that is going to ripen, that is going to cause us to suffer. It is by recognizing that, by really accepting that. I don't think that one can arrive at true patience without a belief in cause and effect, without a belief in karma. I don't think that we can actually get ourselves to the point of being able to accept responsibility for the harm done to us. I don't think so. And this is not
that's
something...
based on cause and effect. It's done to us because we caused it.
Exactly. I don't know what you're, people say, well, how are we, the people who are being bombed in Gaza, or the terrible things that are happening around the world, and that have always happened, and the poor innocent children who are suffering. We have no right to judge that child, saying that he or she is responsible for the suffering that he or she is experiencing. This thought process is to be applied to ourselves. We all have this store of negative actions. I mean, if we really accept the fact that there's no beginning to our existence, There cannot be, logically speaking, as you can actually tell us about from your study of logic, there cannot be an effect without a cause. There cannot be a present moment without an immediately preceding moment of consciousness. And you therefore cannot have a first moment of consciousness. There can't be. Consciousness cannot be caused by something that is not of a similar nature as it, and that would only be a prior moment of consciousness. And applying that logic, there cannot be a beginning. We have been around experiencing difficulties, engaging in non-virtuous action for so long that we all have these stores of negativity that are ready to flower, causing us unhappiness. And therefore, I think it's really important, if we do accept karma, if we're going to actually engage in this process of reasoning to counter anger, to accept responsibility for our situation of suffering, and to not judge others for theirs. And to me, that is the essence in this disregarding harm done to you. The only way you can do it is by accepting that the harm done to you has been caused by you. I don't know what.
Remember a while ago, you forgot you even said it. Statements of Chairman Nicky, I put it in that category. You said that karma doesn't judge, it explains. I thought that was a very big statement. It seems to work.
I want to copyright that one.
Well, go right ahead, you know.
But I think also karma, including the recognition of past and future lives, because if we see bad things happening to good people, that's a way of understanding the causality of that without judging, right? So that's a way of understanding why children are suffering.
Well, he said it explains,
Yeah.
doesn't judge.
Yeah, no. The laws of karma, the laws of cause and effect, cannot be limited to this life. If we accept karma, we are accepting past lives, yes.
More or less proving in one way, but the best proof is what you said, previous moment of consciousness. That helps.
But there seems to
Can't argue
be
with that.
many people in our culture who don't accept past and future.
We're not. I think it's really important in this conversation that we are talking to ourselves. Not. Really, I'm talking to me. It has to be at that level. When His Holiness says, disarmament is compassion in practice. What is required, therefore, is both inner disarmament at the level of our individual hatred, prejudice, and intolerance, and outer. And here we're talking about the inner, which is just me. It's not even my family and friends. It's not even the other people in this. And that real spiritual work is just me. Not in an egotistical way.
I think I was thinking it of you started by saying that we can't really start to work with patients unless we're grappling with cause and effect or seeing that importance of it. But it seems, so then we can say, well, what is an ethics that doesn't believe in past or future lives? Because there seems to be many ethical people who are not doing that. And then taking that and understanding what is our Buddhist ethics, or personally what we're working with here in relation to that, to have that become more certain.
So I missed a point, but in the, let's say, Christian, which is the non-Buddhist system that I have some familiarity with, an ethical, virtuous attitude would be a God-given one. ethics, I mean, the argument is how can you have ethics without a belief in God? Because we are the creations of God, and therefore a virtuous, patient attitude towards others would be something that would be inspired by our recognition that we are the creations of God. Is that right? I mean, that's what I...
Yeah, that's.
So far, so far.
Or through our acceptance of God, then this provides us a kind of ethical compass,
Right,
perhaps.
I would think.
So, since in this conversation, I think we're talking as Buddhists, one of the things that we can do is respect this other, but you know, I can only really talk about my belief in past lives and my belief in my responsibility in respect to a situation and my need to work on myself within a situation. And it sounds very egotistical.
No.
It should be the opposite. It should really be an acknowledgement that the only thing that I can control is me.
We didn't find the answers in the other religion. We found Thomas Merton, people like that. We both started that same way. And he seemed to be making more sense in terms of the idea of karma and everything else. But, so we went from that religion, which I believed in for a while, but then didn't answer.
But no, let's leave aside.
We're leaving, I'm
let's
talking
not-
as Buddhists, it's a nice system. It seems to work. You can't counter its logic, at least I can't. You know,
Well,
the more you think about it, it reveals, it becomes more truth.
but I mean, I began this by making a real declaration that I honestly believe that the only way that I can really assume responsibility for my situation is by acknowledging that it is my own past actions that have caused me to be in the
At this
situation.
point, putting on ropes, et cetera,
No, I'm talking about as I'm,
in general.
you know,
Anything.
anything. I mean, any moment of any difficulty that I encounter, the actual cause of that difficulty is my own past action.
Okay, you're speaking not specific.
So, getting back to disregarding harm done to you, as I'm saying, the only way that you can really come to a true disregard of the harm done to you is by accepting the fact that you are responsible for the harm done to you. And the only way that you can accept the fact that you are responsible for the harm done to you is to accept cause and effect, the laws of karma and past lives that provide the arena within
Takes a lot of
which
attention
these
out of
past
it.
lives or these past actions could have taken place.
Because the worst thing you do is, well, why me, why me, why me? That makes you nuts. There's no answer there.
So not
Now-
us, but our behaviors. Not me, but my behavior, my
Yeah.
past behaviors.
But you're the one that didn't behave.
But I mean, it can become what you're saying, if it's, oh, I did something bad, and so I'm a bad person.
You could do that, but most of the time it's, why me? I'm not a bad person.
I know what you mean, Mark, I feel like I've grappled with that a couple times, I mean, not a couple times, many times. In terms of the thought of, wow, it's a really hard day today, there's been a lot of challenges, and if I do accept that as a result of my own past actions, it can, in a bad light, it can sometimes be an opportunity for me to just be like, God, why did I make all these bad decisions in the past? Why me? why did I do that? And I think that when I actually metabolize it in the way that I think it's actually supposed to be metabolized, I can see that it's not a why me conversation. It is, in general, this long consciousness that never stops or ends had a lot of experiences, and I am currently trapped in one of these things that is an opportunity to learn, essentially. But I grapple with that sometimes, of feeling like this is a difficult moment, and if I think that this is coming from my past actions, then I can get a deflated sense of self-esteem in many ways, to think like, I've made a lot of bad decisions. And this is only causing for more bad results, and am I ever going to make good ones?
So that's the good news. On this Christmas Eve,
Not yet. but
we
it's
are
easy.
humans, and the fact that we are humans is the result of so much good that we have done. It is so extraordinary. Not only are we humans, but we are actually sitting here contemplating these things.
A Buddhist,
It's
in a Buddhist
extraordinary.
country, in a non-Buddhist country.
Where is my little friend? Oh, here.
He's not
This
there.
fellow has the good fortune to be at the Tibet Center. He understands nothing of all this, assumes no responsibility
You
for
don't know who he
it.
is. That's the appearance of him. I mean, be real.
And
But he
so
knows it.
we can, in the same way, we can view we can really delight, rejoice in all the good things that we have done that have brought us to sitting here right before
Yeah.
Christmas
these
and
great
thinking about these things and discussing these things. I commend you all.
Consecrated by the Dalai Lama.
You, my friend, I commend for the good virtue that
Yeah, he
has
was-
brought you to here, but I am very sorry not participate.
If he is what we get to the story.
So, it
Well,
seems to be 8 o'clock, we haven't gotten very far, but,
We've got very far, are you kidding? In terms of feeling better in my life. I'll take it. You don't want it, I'll take it. It's time already, let's see what's up there.
yeah.
A lot of Maryland's covered here.
So,
This is a miracle.
we are going to have a little ceremony on Christmas, not Christmas Eve, but Christmas evening. Christmas evening is
Wednesday.
Ganmen, which is
Oh,
the celebration of Tsongkhapa's birth, attainment of enlightenment, and passing.
Everything in one. That's what
Everything in one.
That's what they call it something, I mean.
3 in 1.
3 in 1, that's it, yes. What the
Pari
crap they
Nirvana.
call this? What?
Parinirvana?
No, there's one day they use, the word, what do they use for Tsongkhapa's day?
Kandenmanchu.
So, we will have at 7 o'clock here at the Tibet Center a little ceremony. And Tony is asking me to read. Please ask viewers to like and subscribe to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Please mention the Tibet Center's fall, now we have to say winter fundraising drive, 2024.
And most importantly,
You can donate online through our website, Facebook, or Instagram. Your donations help us offer these lectures and White Tara pujas every other Saturday afternoon for free to all.
most important.
So, Trungla Rinpoche established the Tibet Center in New York City nearly 50 years ago. I think.
Yes, 75.
Wow.
When
And,
the corporate hit was given, yes.
And it was Rinpoche who told us to find a house out here in New Jersey, which we did 10 years ago.
13, yes, it'll be
13 years ago.
12 years ago.
And we've done
Halloween
so,
13.
and we always had classes in New York City, which were interrupted by COVID. And we moved most of our teaching and events online and here in New Jersey. And we were finally able to go back to our place at the, what was it called, the settlement?
Settlement House, Houston and Bowery.
The settlement house, which was within the Chinatown YMCA on the corner of Houston and the Bowery. And sadly, that institution went bankrupt, and so
So
we
sad.
had to
So
stop
sad.
that. So we have found a new place, 151 West 30th Street. It's called Balance Arts Center. It's on the 3rd floor of 151 West 30th Street, and that's between 6th and 7th Avenues. And we will be starting to have Monday night classes there, starting on the first Monday of the new year, on the 6th of January. So we look forward to seeing you at 151 West 30th Street on Monday, the 6th of January.
Right near Penn Station.
What's the cross street?
The cross street is
Sixth and
30th Street,
30th
and it's between
Sixth
6th
and
and
seventh.
7th
Sorry.
Avenues.
6th and 7th.
Right near the entrance to Penn Station.
Oh, perfect.
No
Perfect.
subway. You're not gonna park there.
Yes, no parking, not
Forget
possible.
parking. We're not allowed
Okay.
to eat in the class.
That's okay.
It's all
We'll
right.
work it out, we'll work it
You don't have to eat.
I'll sneak.
You have, there's so many eateries.
out. And we have to take our shoes off too, right?
I don't know.
We have to take our shoes off.
I think so.
Third floor.
Darren, do you have any names?
No names.
Okay.
So
I'll second.
pray for all those with no names. So we shall recite the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels, the Buddha of the Sangha. I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, is the Buddha Bhagavad. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the rivers. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who are ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavad. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey.
As for the Sangha of the great Yana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are filled with glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata, pure the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm.
Okay, let's recite the 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings, and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I have benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering upon others. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. Now, prayer for a swift return of captive King RINPOCHE. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Losang Tuwon Dorje Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of Victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of exclamation and practice. The holy commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence ends, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and fitness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return is the glory of Losang Tempe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh, moon-like face. Thank you. and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Christmas and Hanukkah and Tonkapas Day all are on the 25th of December this year. It's a holy, holy day.
Very